The lawyer's office was cold. Too cold. Like they'd turned the AC up just to match the chill in my father's will. I sat there, gripping the armrests, while my older brother Daniel smirked beside me. The attorney cleared his throat and read the words that shattered me. To my daughter Emily, I leave the sum of $1. $1. I laughed. Not because it was funny, because if I didn't laugh, I'd scream. Meanwhile, Daniel got everything. The brownstone in Brooklyn, the stock portfolio, the $2 million trust fund. And me? A single crumpled bill, handed over like an afterthought. But here's the thing about people who think they can break you. They don't realize you're already cracked. And cracks? They let the light in. I took that dollar, and I turned it into a war. The call came at 3:17 a.m. I knew before I answered. No one calls at that hour unless the world is ending. Emily, it's your dad. My uncle's voice cracked. He's gone. I didn't cry. Not then. I just sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the peeling paint of my tiny Bushwick apartment, and wondered why the first thing I felt wasn't grief. It was anger, because even in death, he'd found a way to disappoint me. St. Patrick's Cathedral was packed. Men in tailored suits, women in black designer dresses, all people who'd known my father as Richard Carter, Wall Street titan, not his dad. I stood in the back, ignored. My brother Daniel sat in the front row, shoulders shaking with performative grief. The golden child, the heir, the son who could do no wrong. Aunt Patricia squeezed my arm. He loved you, Emily. I almost laughed. Love? Love doesn't leave scars. The lawyer's office smelled like leather and regret. Daniel sat across from me, already looking bored, like this was just another board meeting. Then the attorney read the words that sealed my fate. To my daughter, Emily Carter, I leave the sum of $1. Silence. Daniel coughed. A poorly disguised laugh. $1. The same man who paid for Daniel's Ivy League tuition, his penthouse, his Porsche, left me less than the cost of a subway ride. The attorney hesitated. There's a note. I unfolded it with numb fingers. Emily. Money never made anyone worthy. Prove me wrong. Dad. Prove him wrong? Oh, I would. Outside, rain smeared the city into a blur of neon and misery. Daniel caught up to me under the awning, grinning. Guess he finally admitted what we all knew. I turned slowly. And what's that? You were never really one of us? Something inside me snapped. I smiled. Funny, because I'm about to become the only Carter anyone remembers. And then I walked away, with my dollar, my rage, and a plan. Age 12. My science fair win versus Daniel's Little League game. Emily, it's just a ribbon. Dad sighed, already putting on his coat. But Danny's team is in the finals. Just a ribbon. That's all I ever was to him. Back in my apartment, I pinned that dollar to my wall. A reminder. A promise. You think I'm nothing? Fine. But nothing can become everything. I stared at that single bill taped to my wall. Creased, ordinary, mocking me. Prove me wrong. My father's handwriting was as cold as his will. He'd spent his life measuring people by their bank accounts, and in the end, he'd priced me at less than a cup of coffee. Fine. If money was the language he understood, I'd scream in it. I bought a scratch-off with my inheritance. The bodega clerk raised an eyebrow as I slapped the dollar on the counter. Just this? It's all I'm worth, I said, laughing hollowly. I scratched it right there on the sidewalk. $0. Of course. But as I crumpled the ticket, something twisted in my chest. Not disappointment, but clarity. My father didn't leave me this dollar because he thought I was worthless. He left it because he was afraid of what I'd become if I stopped trying to prove him wrong. Back at my apartment, I opened my laptop and typed a name. Victor Hale, my father's former business partner, fired, sued into oblivion, and, according to a decade-old gossip blog, allegedly framed for embezzlement. I dug deeper. Bankrupt. Divorced. Living in a Jersey studio apartment. Perfect. Victor answered the door in a stained undershirt, reeking of whiskey. "Who the hell are you?" "Richard Carter's daughter." His face darkened. "Come to gloat? Come to trade?" I held up a file. "Everything my father did to bury you, and a way out." His eyes flickered. Hungry, hesitant. "What's the catch?" "You helped me burn his legacy to the ground." Victor's hands trembled. Like, you ever see someone absolutely rattled? As he fumbled through those papers I'd put together. Seriously, if he thinks that's the worst of it, man, he hasn't got a clue. He dragged a battered briefcase from under his bed. Inside? A ledger. Black leather, gold-edged pages, the kind rich men use to keep secrets. "Your dad kept 2 sets of books," Victor muttered. "The real ones and the ones he showed the IRS." I traced a line with my finger. $450,000 offshore, untaxed. And next to it, double C, Daniel's initials. "Daniel's been skimming for years," Victor said. "Your dad found out. Instead of turning him in, he covered it up, paid it back himself." My stomach lurched. The $2 million wasn't a reward. It was a bribe. Victor leaned in. "You leak this. The feds will crawl up Daniel's ass so fast he'll—" "No." I shut the ledger. "Not the feds. Someone worse." "Who?" I smiled. "The shareholders." Age 16. Dad at the dinner table lecturing Daniel about business. "You never attack head-on. You find the pressure point. Then you push." I'd been cutting my steak, silent. Now? I'd be the knife. I created a fake email. Attached scanned pages of the ledger. Then I sent it to 3 people. The Wall Street Journal's tip line. Carter Holdings' largest investor. Daniel's fiancé. Subject line. Ask Danny where the money really came from. Send. I sat back, my heart beat loud in the quiet. Somewhere across the city, Daniel was probably clinking champagne glasses, blissfully unaware. But New York? It's a city that eats the weak. And I was done being weak. 3 days passed in eerie silence. I refreshed my inbox obsessively, waiting for the first ripple of disaster. Nothing. Had I miscalculated? Had the files gotten lost in some corporate spam filter? Then, at 2:13 a.m., my phone buzzed. WSJ breaking. Carter Holdings under federal investigation for tax fraud. I exhaled for what felt like the first time in years. Game on. By dawn, the news had metastasized. CNBC, Bloomberg. Even fucking TMZ ran a headline. Wall Street heirs' secret offshore accounts exposed. I watched it all unfold from a cafe across the street from Carter Holdings' Midtown office. Men in suits rushed in and out like panicked ants. Then, him. Daniel stormed out, phone pressed to his ear, his face the same shade of red as the Ferrari he could no longer afford. "You don't understand. This is a setup," he screamed at whoever was on the line. I sipped my coffee. Delicious. Victor had warned me not to dig deeper. I ignored him. Late that night, I spread the ledger's pages across my floor, tracing the coded entries with a highlighter. DC appeared on 17 transactions, but one, dated 6 months before Dad's death, had a new notation. Silence fee. Lake house. I froze. We didn't own a lake house. Then, buried in the back, a faded photo slipped between the pages. Daniel. A woman in a white sundress. A toddler. And scribbled on the back in Dad's handwriting. "Danny's mess. Clean it up." The woman's face was easy to find. Lena Hart, 28, former Carter Holdings intern. Her Instagram was private, but her LinkedIn showed a sudden sabbatical 5 years ago. And her address? A $1.2 million property in the Hamptons, purchased by a shell company, owned by my father. I nearly vomited. Daniel hadn't just stolen money. He'd built a whole other life. Lena opened the door with a baby on her hip. Can I help you? I smiled. Hi, I'm Daniel's sister. Her face went pale. Bingo. He told me you knew, Lena whispered, clutching her son tighter. That the money was for us. I kept my voice gentle. How long? 5 years, he said. Her voice cracked. He said his family would cut him off if they found out. I almost laughed. Of course. Dad hadn't rewarded Daniel. He'd paid him to hide his bastard. I slid a contract across her kitchen table. Sign this and I'll make sure your son gets what he's owed. She scanned it. A sworn affidavit detailing Daniel's fraud, the hush money, everything. Or, I met her eyes. Or I leak those photos to his fiancé. And trust me, she's less forgiving than I am. Lena signed. Age 14, Dad's study. Daniel's broken curfew blamed on driving Emily home. You're sure? Dad had asked, hand on Danny's shoulder. My brother smirked. Would I lie? I stayed silent. Now? Silence was overrated. I sent the affidavit to 3 places. The SEC, Daniel's wedding planner. Every board member of Carter Holdings. Then I waited. It took 4 hours. My phone lit up with Daniel's name. I answered. Miss me? Daniel's voice was a blade pressed against my throat. You psychotic little bitch. I leaned back in my chair, watching rain slash against my apartment window. Took you long enough to call. You think this is a game? He was breathing hard, the way he used to before he'd throw a punch. I'll ruin you. I smiled. You already tried. By noon, Carter Holdings stock had plummeted 62%. CNBC played on mute in the corner of my screen as I refreshed the live blog. Breaking, Carter Holdings CEO Daniel Carter removed by emergency board vote. Breaking, federal subpoenas issued for all financial records. Breaking, wedding of Daniel Carter and heiress Alessandra Rothschild, indefinitely postponed. I wondered if Alessandra had seen the photo yet. Daniel bare-chested on a dock, laughing as Lena's toddler clung to his leg. A perfect family moment. Paid for with stolen millions. Dude rolls up to my place at, 3 in the freaking morning, reeking of booze, hands trembling. You have no idea. He mumbles, basically bulldozing his way inside. Dad knew. He fucking approved it. I didn't offer him a seat. Approved what exactly? The embezzlement? The secret kid? Or just lying to everyone who trusted you? Daniel's fist slammed into my wall. He was protecting me. The raw terror in his voice almost made me pity him. Almost. Daniel fumbled in his jacket and threw a crumpled envelope at me. Read it. Inside, a single handwritten line. If Emily ever finds out about Lena, give her whatever she wants. I stared at it. What the hell is this? His real will. Daniel's laugh was hollow. The lawyer read the fake one. This was his insurance. The room tilted. All this time, I thought I was fighting my father's ghost. Turns out I was playing right into his hands. Daniel wiped his mouth. He knew you'd dig. Knew you'd find Lena. This was his fucking test. Test for what? To see if you were ruthless enough to run his company. The air left my lungs. All of it. The will, the dollar, the goddamn note. It was one last game. And I'd won. Daniel grabbed my shoulders. You got what you wanted. Now fix it. Call the SEC. Tell them you made it up. No. His grip tightened. I'm your brother. I studied his face. The same one that had smirked at funerals, lied to teachers, stolen my inheritance with a wink. You stopped being my brother when you cashed the first check, I said softly. Then I walked to the door and held it open. Get out. The next 72 hours were a blur. Daniel arrested on federal fraud charges. Lena and her son granted full custody plus a settlement. Carter Holdings offered me 51% voting control to restore confidence. I took the meeting. I listened to their pleas. Then I sold every share to their biggest competitor. 6 months before he died. His office. Him not looking up from his desk. You'll never understand, Emily. Business isn't personal. I'd left without answering. Now, everything was personal. I stood over his tombstone in the pouring rain. You arrogant bastard, I whispered. You really thought I'd take your company? Your name? A cab honked outside the cemetery gates. I turned my back on the grave. I had an empire to build. 1 year later, the Wall Street Journal ran the headline, From your first floor, 1 to 100 million, how Emily Carter built an empire on her own terms. My office was nothing like my father's. No dark wood, no oil paintings of dead financiers. Just floor-to-ceiling windows and the glittering skyline of a city that had tried to break me. My assistant knocked. The SEC just approved the final merger paperwork. I didn't look up from my screen. Tell them I want it done by Friday. And your brother's lawyer called again. Block his number. The door clicked shut. Silence. Finally, peace. The nightmares still came. Daniel's face at my door that night. The way his voice cracked when he said, he was protecting me. The toddler in Lena's arms who'd never understand why his father was in prison. I told myself it was justice. But justice doesn't taste like ashes. It arrived on company letterhead. A desperate attempt to seem official. Emily, you won. Dad would be proud. Now help me. 1 call to the DA and... I burned it in my office fireplace. Flames licked the edges of our last name. Carter. Ashes. Gone. The ribbon-cutting ceremony for Carter and Company. Women's Finance Initiative was packed. Cameras flashed as I handed the first scholarship check to a 19-year-old Bronx Community College student. Sharp-eyed, hungry, the way I'd once been. Why me? She whispered. I adjusted her lapel pin. Because the best investments are the ones they tell you not to make. Later, a reporter asked why I'd funded it entirely through personal capital. So no one can ever take it away, I said. Least of all ghosts. The brownstone was empty now, dust sheets over the furniture. I stood in Dad's study for the first time in a decade. Drew my finger through the dust on his desk. The hidden drawer still clicked open smoothly. Inside, a single envelope. For Emily, when she's ready. My hands didn't shake as I tore it open. Just 2 words. You're welcome. I laughed until I cried. The estate lawyer called the next morning. We found another amendment to the will. Your father left conditional shares? How much? 12 million. But there's a clause? I already knew. If I helped Daniel, I'd get it. Silence. You're the richest woman in New York who never took a dime from him, the lawyer said quietly. He didn't think you'd do it. I hung up. The money would sit in trust forever. Let it rot. Forbes, June 2024. The $1 heiress, how Emily Carter proved them all wrong, on her own terms. I keep that dollar framed in my office. Not as a reminder of what he took, but of everything I took back. Subscribe for more stories of betrayal, revenge, and rising from the ashes.